setting mo. Nakalimutan ko na yung controls. Tapos command. Okay.
Off you go.
Kung nasabi na pagtama ito.
I won't let you down, Sloppy. It's all you. Come on.
Solo. Die.
More Mako gas ahead.
There's no way around it either. Just have to live with it. Let's not waste any time. Mako this thick is dangerous.
Gotta say, that one felt pretty good.
Where the hell do we go?
A Mako spring.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but if we keep using Mako to power our homes, springs like this will disappear, right?
What are you talking about? Who told you that?
My dad. And the mayor, if you must know.
Except the planet's huge. Mako will never run out, right?
Naturally formed materia. And look at the size of it. Astounding. For the Mako energy to condense into something like this, it must have taken an eternity.
I've always wondered, how does materia let you cast spells exactly?
How did you ever get to be a soldier? To put it simply, the knowledge of the ancients is sealed within each orb. That knowledge not only connects us to the planet, it allows us to tap into her power. That's how we can use magic. Or so they say.
Really? Magic sure is weird.
I know someone who'd be livid to hear you call it weird, or magic for that matter. I can just imagine what he'd say. It's an affront to science.
Who?
Hojo, from Research and Development. His predecessor was a great man, but him... he is anything but. We should press on.
Kailangan natin na mag... Kailangan natin mag-change ng ano? Stream. Video. Output. Video frequencies. 6,800. Hindi ako masanay sa combat.
We'll be fine. Come on.
Piece of cake. Bring it on. Sephiroth,
Stand
take
back.
the lead. Come on.
This way.
Heads up.
You're see ya. steady. Show them what we can do.
Got it.
Synergy skill. Pala may synergy skill. Pwede pala natin agad. Fire, ice, wind gases. Putik, may daanan pala dun eh. While description
I got this. It's on now. Burn. Let's finish this. Sephiroth,
You're in good
take the lead. Roar! I got this. Try this.
This won't be the last.
Bitch. Oh shit.
Auto gas levels reduced by 20%.
Apa itu pesan?
Auto gas levels reduced by 70%. No auto gas detected. Elevator access granted.
Continue.
Up ahead. Looks like a way out.
Wait. Shoot the fuck down, Tifa. Nalilito pa ako sa combat.
Wait.
Huh?
What?
Get back.
This way.
You said you wanted to be a hero.
Wish I had.
It thinks we're after materia.
Someone should tell it we're not. Maybe try mixing it up more?
Weakness, water immunities. Okay. Water, fire.
Try to keep your guard up. You need to vary your attacks.
Not doing so great. Let go! Damn it! Not again!
Get it together.
I owe you one.
When we're done. On me. Done?
Sephiroth! Pretty mobile.
Till we knock it down.
For you! Fight with a sword. Go for the leg.
Take out its legs. Now. Defense cloud.
Time to kick it up a notch. Got him.
Move in.
Copy.
Burn.
Get him. Show him what we can do. Nice.
What?
Get him.
You're practically panting.
I'm excited.
Such a puppy.
Don't like the looks of this.
Stay alert. Follow my lead.
Copy. Not looking good. Sephiroth, little help? Sephiroth, take the lead.
Can't go near the Mako.
Awesome.
Nice work.
Okay, hold up. Maybe I'm missing something here, but everything you've said makes Sephiroth sound like a stand-up guy.
Well, he was.
And now he's pure evil, trying to kill everyone on the planet. Help me to understand this shit. Tell me something that'll really make my blood boil.
Oh, I will. I will. You wait out here, Tifa.
No way! I want to go too. Please?
Sorry, no civilians. Even if we weren't on a mission.
Come on!
Keep the young lady safe.
Carry on.
Ugh! You better keep me safe.
Wait. How do we photo mode? Okay, so R1.
Didn't expect it to be all systems go.
You'd think it'd be running at reduced output, like most last-gen models.
And let me guess, villagers don't have a clue about this.
Knowing Shinra? Of course not.
The company really needs to be more transparent.
Tell that to the president.
What exactly is the problem in this place?
The people in charge. While most reactors are under the jurisdiction of urban planning, this one is overseen by R&D.
Huh. Why do I suddenly have a bad feeling about this?
Whatever you see here, you are not to speak of it.
Oh, I won't.
Perhaps you'd like to say a few words to your sword first? Hojo, you are really something.
those things. Genova? Wasn't that...
The malfunction must be forcing the pods to depressurize. Cloud, go out and shut off the valve.
Copy. What are you doing?
These pods were built for the production of artificial materia. But Hojo repurposed them as incubators, cages for animals, infused with Mako, all to birth a new breed of monster. But he didn't stop at animals. Oh no. There were other subjects. Look.
What the heck?
My mother's name was Genova. Could it be that I was created the same way? Am I the same as these monsters?
Sephiroth.
Ever since I was a child, I knew that I was different, that I was special, but not like this. Not like this. Am I even human?
Eventually, we went back to the inn. But when we got there, Sephiroth locked himself in his room.
The mayor had been looking forward to having dinner with bona fide soldiers, so he didn't take the news too well. Dad had to put up with his belly aching for hours afterward.
Huh?
Must have sucked. But what about Sephiroth? What happened to him?
He left. Didn't tell a soul where he was going.
I met Sephiroth as he was heading for Shinra Manor, and he acted like I wasn't even there. Busy, I suppose. Haven't heard anything about the reactor either. What happened up there anyway?
Sephiroth? Ah, I did see him.
Looking for Sephiroth? He just left, I'm afraid. Maybe he needed some fresh air?
He's holed up inside the mansion.
Something's been off ever since he came back from the reactor.
Too much exposure to Mako?
Then we ought to bring him some medicine. If you're looking for Sephiroth, I saw him headed toward the mansion.
Shinra Manor was the biggest building in town, and older than the reactor. The company used to conduct research there, back when they were still a small manufacturer. Even so, the rent on that plot was basically what kept the village afloat.
Well, here we are. What now?
I mean, the whole place is pitch black. You think he's sleeping or something?
What if he's sick and needs our help?
Him? A little Mako poisoning isn't gonna hurt a living legend.
Took a look around the place, but Sephiroth was nowhere to be seen.
Never knew it had a basement.
Was news to me too. Doubt anyone in the village had a clue.
Okay, here we go.
Excavated from a 2,000-year-old rock layer. A life form in stasis. Professor Gast named this life form Genova. MEGL 77-1977. Genova. Verified as an ancient. MEGL 9/13/1977. Genova project approved. So, they named the life form Genova. And once they understood what she was, they grew ambitious.
Hey, Sephiroth. What you got there?
Leave me be.
What the fuck's going on, bro?
And that was it. He stayed holed up in the basement. Reading and reading, like a man possessed. We got Genova. A locked reactor door. The name of Sephiroth's mother. And ancients. Ah, screw it. Racking my brain's not gonna get me anywhere. May as well just ask the guy.
Cloud. I've come across the most fascinating passage. The specimen found in strata dating back 2,000 years smiled with what could only be described as ethereal grace. Though the truth eluded me at first, I later determined that she was an ancient, or a steward of the planet, as they are referred to in legend. She needed a name, and so I dubbed her Genova. The Genova project was approved soon after. A bold initiative to resurrect the long-dead ancients. An initiative that resulted in my conception.
Don't read books, kids.
Or rather, my creation. The crowning glory of Professor Gas' wondrous experiment.
He created you?
Sephiroth.
I should go. Mother is waiting.
Hey! Hey! Hold on!
Tanginang grabe namang lakas. Grabing braso yan, sir, ah.
I keep asking myself, why couldn't I have come to sooner? If I had, maybe I could have saved the village.
Or man.
Tried, at least.
Built different.
What?
Shit.
Hey, you! Get in there! The villagers need your help!
What happened?
Watch out!
Pinaulanan to ng pira, oh.
Let me through! My son's still in there!
I'm sorry! He's gone!
Mom.
Is it true? Sephiroth did this?
Oh, it was him, all right. And he's still here. So keep your eyes peeled.
God.
Get your head straight. I need you to secure the way out. Now!
Yes, sir!
Sephiroth? But why would he...
Ben, kala ko sabog bigla yung pinto. Water ba to?
Hold on, Mom. I'm coming.
Bago lang sa kanya to.
Is this... Am I gonna... die?
Almost there. Please be okay. Sephiroth. Mom.
Run away. You have to leave. You have to live.
Hey! Hey! Hang in there! You're gonna be okay! Don't worry. I got you. Come on, let's get you up.
What the fuck's going on? Parang fishball lang ah.
There he is! Sephiroth! Stop! You sick son of a bitch! That's far enough! Drop the sword!
Grabe, separate oh. Parang pinipishball na yung mga tao. Come on, come on, come on. Ano nangyari? Why? What happened?
I'm coming.
Sephiroth!
Bakit ito yung mga villagers? Gar.
I followed Sephiroth all the way back to the reactor.
Dad and I had gone there to hide. When Sephiroth showed up, Dad decided that he was going to confront him. Dad. It was Sephiroth, wasn't it? He did this, didn't he? Sephiroth. Soldiers. Mako. Shinra. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this!
Oh. Ba't doon yung sword ni Sephiroth?
Mother, I have come for you. Now open the way for me.
You murdered my dad! You burned my village!
Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Parang kamat lang. Oh, ba't dun yung camera? Grabe naman yung camera man kung saan tinututok ko yung camera.
You promised you'd save me. If I was ever trapped or in trouble.
Here I am, your son. Mother, together we will reclaim our world. And I know exactly how we can do that. The Promised Land.
Sephiroth!
Mother, they have come again.
Crazy.
The ones who robbed you of the planet. Your planet. But there's no need to be sad, Mother. Because I'm here for you. Now and forever.
Kid is crazy, bro.
You killed my mom. You killed Tifa. My village. My home.
They were mine by right. This planet too, for I have been chosen.
I believed in you. No. Not you! Whoever the hell you are!
Oh. Okay, here we go.
And that's the last thing I remember. The rest is a blank.
The hell it is? What happened?
It was all over the news. I remember watching it with my mom. They said he went missing during a training exercise. But then, the story changed. A couple days later, they started reporting that he was killed in action. Yeah, that was it.
The news outlets are nothing but Shinra mouthpieces spewing propaganda. Only dumbasses believe that shit.
Question. Does that make me a dumbass?
I didn't say that. What I meant was, screw Shinra for manipulating honest folks.
It doesn't matter what they said back then. Sephiroth was in Midgar. We fought him.
Yep.
Whatever happened, he's alive.
Don't know about alive so much as around?
But why come back now? After 5 years, doing who knows what?
Because he wants to finish what he started. He wants to reclaim his birthright and rule over the planet with Genova at his side.
After 5 years? Not to sound like a broken record, but it's really bothering me.
Yeah, why now?
Well, what's bothering me is all this Genova stuff.
Excuse me. Guess the trouble or something really did a number on my back. Feels as stiff as a board.
Let me take a look. Wow. You weren't kidding, were you? Let's get you back to the room.
Yeah. Let's just call it a night.
Di po kasi nila Tekken.
Guesswork will get us closer to the truth. So how about we give our heads rest?
Oh, I'm going to play so much of this game.
Oh, no, you don't. That bed's mine.
Sweet dreams.
See you tomorrow. Hey, Aerith? You awake?
Barely. Why?
I was wondering, what's Cloud been doing these past 5 years? Where's he been?
And you're asking me this?
Just had a feeling you'd know.
Ano nga ba nangyari?
Probably did at one point. All that stuff was taken from me, though. Or maybe erased?
By whispers?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Why what?
This is gonna sound crazy, but as far as I know, Cloud was never in Nibelheim 5 years ago.
What? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Cloud, you up?
Ganda ni Tifa, hanip.
Sorry, did I wake you?
Nope. What's going on?
Oh, it's nothing, really. So, can we talk?
Sure.
Great. But not here. Follow me.
Dun sa favorite place nila.
You know that I killed her. So, who is she? Or rather, what is she?
Oo nga. How is she alive? How is she alive,
Do you
bro?
think Midgar's over there? Anyway.
There's something I need to ask you too.
Shoot.
That night, 5 years ago, at the reactor, I saw you lying there. Saw your wound and all the blood. I figured it was too late.
Yeah? Wait, what are you implying? That I died? That I'm some kind of imposter? Can't believe I'm having this conversation with you, but here we are. Here, look. My scar. That proof enough?
Kala ko.
After you left, Zangan found me. He's the one who brought me to the clinic. He risked his life carrying me out of the reactor and down the river. Wasn't just him, though. There's the doctor who operated on me all night, and the nurses who looked after me for days on end. I'm here now because they were there for me then. And where were you again? In fact, where have you been this whole time? For 5 years.
You know I can't tell you that.
Of course you can't. Sorry, I just need some space.
What is really going on here, bro? Ganda ng lugar.
I thought we could just pick up where we left off, like nothing had changed. But I guess I was wrong.
Guess so.
I was so happy to see you again, but maybe I shouldn't have been.
You two fight?
No.
We have enough problems as it is. Copy?
Night.
Tomorrow is another day.
Pwede po tayo mag-fast forward. A new journey begins. Mahal mo na nga tayo, but okay. 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 Ano? Increase use defense effect magic spells. Okay. Resist, gradually restore HP. Revives. Okay. During battle ata yun. Okay. Okay. Or is the blocking again? Poison silence. Cast spells unable to act. Okay. Increase damage dealt and receive. Fury goes in it. Charge, but no. Okay. So guys, naano ko muna yung mga panalo. Or use to move. Okay. Each card because Punisher and the player moves my default applicant word shift mode. Okay. Use the air dome. Grants character synergy. Increase damage to stuff. access limit sa gameplay. Okay. Okay, we're good.
What's this?
A gift from our humble establishment. Though it may not look like much, it should help you to break the ice with those you meet.
Queen's blood?
Starter deck. Oh shit, we got a card game. Okay. Is this... Sure. Let's go. Pure lane total. Get a number in the top right corner of a card. Whether pushes a card. Overlap na lang. Kasi ito when one of your cards has opposite this rock. Okay. Cards can only replace on presence equal the number. Okay. When one of your card positions overlaps with one of your cards, you can name that is yours. Note that however the claim will not raise its mark. You can be precaution in the points total. Shard of the board. Represent your power by the one of the reference here. Some cards have ties with dead borders that are filled by cards ability. Place cards to make use of their base and place. In the event of not place a card from Sige nga. Isa para characters ito. May similarity sa ano, sa Gwent. I see what they're doing here. In other words, no matter how high your power in lane may be, even just a opponent's power in the same lane. That's nice.
Of course, this is only the most recent in a series of crises. Multiple reactor bombings, followed by the fall of the Sector 7 flight, culminating in this unprecedented destruction, caused by a massive tornado which swept through sectors.
Good morning, sir. I must apologize for not introducing myself to you earlier. I'm Broden, the owner of this inn. Your companions have all stepped out. Oh, but Barrett left a message he wanted me to pass along to you. You missed roll call, soldier boy. Luckily, you're on leave for the day. Don't waste it, though. Get your equipment checked ASAP. Sound advice? Perhaps a trip to the arms dealer is in order?
Good idea.
By the way, Cloud, do you have any folios on you?
Yeah.
In that case, you might also want to pay a visit to Magnata Books. They have stores all over, but the first official one was built here in Calm. And their resident scholars are remarkably talented. If you want to unlock the true potential of your folios, you should go see them. The first customization is always free.
Okay.
Finally. Rough day yesterday, huh?
Where are we?
You've been waiting for me?
I've been waiting for a chance to thank you properly. Without your help, I'd still be in Hojo's clutches, trapped in that lab.
Was nothing.
Even so, I owe you a debt. Until it's paid, I'm going to accompany you.
Go ahead.
Oh, if you're getting your equipment checked, have them check mine while you're at it.
Sure thing. The Rook's got a backbone.
Work on just helping people in need, exploring the world will deepen your perspective, their party level dial. we gotta save. That's enough. Kailangan natin mag-catch up. Kailangan natin mag-catch up. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Kahit yung first few hours lang.
When it was first released, Final Fantasy VII Remake was shown to be different. It kept much of the original story from 1997 intact, but changed quite a few details to help convey its new narrative. Well, 4 years later, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has done it again, changing some details and keeping others, letting new players experience the story of Final Fantasy VII for the first time, while also giving older players a chance to see things in a different light. Today, I'd like to talk about those changes, and how Final Fantasy VII Rebirth changes the story once again. As always though, thank you to Square Enix for giving me an early copy of the game, that was very nice of them, and be warned, spoiler warning ahead. This video will spoil the events of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, so don't watch this video until you've beaten it yourself. We'll be skipping around quite a bit throughout the video as well to keep things organized, which is why I recommend beating the whole thing first. I will also be referencing the prior remake in this video along with the original Final Fantasy VII, but only as it pertains to Rebirth. Any event from the team leaving Midgar to where Rebirth finishes will be discussed, anything after that point will not be. I know many people are experiencing this game for the first time through these remakes, and I would hate to spoil things for you. But if you enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as here on the channel we talk about everything story. From informative story explanation videos to full-on critiques and analyses on a variety of games and series. Without further ado though, let's get started. So the first few chapters are actually quite faithful to the source material, most notably the chapters within Calm and Nibelheim. Before that happens though, the game surprises you with a quick playable section as Zack Fair. Zack was the protagonist of the game Crisis Core, and while I won't go over his entire story as it's ultimately not necessary, all you need to know is that he was supposed to die at the end of the game. However, in this timeline, he is now alive. But there is a lot more to Zack than the game is letting on that can't possibly be talked about just yet, so we'll have to return to this scene later and continue on. As mentioned, the Calm and Nibelheim chapters are pretty similar when compared to their original counterparts. The crew still talks about Cloud's past with Nibelheim, and the chapter itself still has Sephiroth uncovering his origins and taking it out on the town. What was added was a conversation between Aerith and Tifa after the retelling, where she talks about Cloud's story and how Tifa never saw him in Nibelheim that day. Sephiroth also appears and tries to convince Cloud that this Tifa...
Windows Cloud never saw what happened to Tifa. Last Cloud knew Tifa was bleeding out on the ground and passed out in the Abraham reactor. Cloud would probably assume she would end up dying as evidenced by using that to his advantage to mess with Cloud, cause him to doubt her. Sephiroth doesn't have confusion. After falling into the life stream, he gains of it and knows pretty much everything. That's how in OG and seems like they're doubling down that. Exercising the seven plus matter trying to make the picture with distrust between them, essentially gaslighting him. This is a tactic to further break Cloud and control his action as Tifa is grounding force for him. Okay. Ito. Wala ka dyan. Mag-remake nga tayo.
Shinra this, Mako that, and what the f is Red 13? We're days away from players getting their hands on the next chapter of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, Rebirth, which will dive into a large chunk of the original game's story. But there's been so much story already that even if you played Remake back in 2020, you might need a refresher. That's me. I need the refresher. So let's go on this journey together as we recap the story so far, leading up to the opening moments of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yeah, we should watch this.
Final Fantasy VII Remake takes place in Midgar, a floating disc-shaped city comprising of 8 sectors. Those that can afford it live above the disc, and those that can't live beneath it. Shinra is not only the private corporation that oversees the distribution of electricity in Midgar, but is also its governing body. Its stranglehold over the city takes physical form in the shape of its Mako reactors, one powering each of the sectors of Midgar. The game opens up on an attack on one of these reactors by the freedom fighting group Avalanche. Dubbed eco-terrorists by Shinra, Avalanche is trying to destabilize the company, as it understands that the process of the life force, or Mako, being harvested from the earth below is slowly killing it. This squad is composed of Jesse, Wedge, Biggs, Barrett, and hired mercenary Cloud, a defected soldier in Shinra's army. Cloud is just in it for the payday, while the rest of the quintet are willing to risk their lives for the cause. The group successfully sets off a small bomb to destroy the reactor, but Shinra sets off a ton more bombs, so that Avalanche will take the fall for so much wanton destruction. And a ton more bombs, so that Avalanche will take the fall for so much reactor, but Shinra sets off a ton more bombs, so that Avalanche will take the fall for so much wanton destruction. As the group escapes, Cloud has a vision of his once mentor turned adversary Sephiroth, who basically kicks him while he's down by dragging up some past trauma. Cloud then runs into a woman selling flowers, Aerith, and through her, he is able to see hooded ghosts flying in the air. I wonder what that's about. Cloud meets up with the rest of Avalanche, and they make it to the slums of Sector 7, where their headquarters, a bar named Seventh Heaven, is located. This bar is owned by Tifa, who is also a childhood friend of Cloud's. The next day, after Tifa and Cloud do some odd jobs around the town to justify Remake's length, despite the portion of the original game it covers only being several hours long, Jessie approaches Cloud with another mission she needs help with. Cloud, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge head topside, where they run into Shinra soldiers and their commander, Roche. After deeming Cloud a worthy opponent, Roche retreats when his sweet bike takes one too many hits. Jessie takes the group to her parents' house, where they swipe her dad's Shinra employee access card. Their plan is to raid a nearby depot for supplies for the next mission. At the supply depot, they encounter opposition, including Roche, who just couldn't wait to take Cloud on again. They are assisted by the real Avalanche, and it's at this point where it's revealed that Barrett's group is an offshoot that was made excommunicado for being too extreme. Says the group with the assault rifles and to opposition, including Roche, who just couldn't wait to take Cloud on again. They are assisted by the real Avalanche, and it's at this point where it's revealed that Barrett's group is an offshoot that was made excommunicado for being too extreme. Says the group with the assault rifles and heavily armored troops. Cloud, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge make it back to the Sector 7 slums with the supplies to take down another Mako reactor. While trying to get a good night's sleep after an evening of corporate subterfuge, Cloud is woken up by Tifa. The ghosts are back, and they're swarming the slums. In the commotion, Jessie sprains her ankle, leaving her unable to join the next mission. Barrett hires Cloud to take her place. Seriously, what are these ghosts up to? The next day, after overcoming several obstacles and sprains her ankle, communicado for being too extreme. Says the group with the assault rifles and heavily armored troops. Cloud, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge make it back to the Sector 7 slums with the supplies to take down another Mako reactor. While trying to get a good night's sleep after an evening of corporate subterfuge, Cloud is woken up by Tifa. The ghosts are back, and they're swarming the slums. In the commotion, Jessie sprains her ankle, leaving her unable to join the next mission. Barrett hires Cloud to take her place. Seriously, what are these ghosts up to? The The next day, after overcoming several obstacles in order to reach the reactor, the group plants the bomb, now equipped with a remote detonator rather than a timer, but must face off against a new Shinra weapon of mass destruction, the airbus friend of Cloud's. The next, it retreats when his sweet bike takes a portion of the original game it covers only being several hours long. Jessie approaches Cloud with another mission she needs help with. Cloud, Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge head topside, where they run into Shinra soldiers and their commander, Roche. After deeming Cloud a worthy opponent, Roche retreats when his sweet bike takes one too many hits. Jessie takes the group to her parents' house, where they swipe her dad's Shinra employee access card. Their plan is to raid a nearby depot for supplies for the next mission. At the supply depot, they encounter opposition, including Roche, who just couldn't wait to take Cloud on again. They are assisted by the real Avalanche, and it's at this point where it's revealed that Barrett's group is an offshoot that was made excommunicado for being too extreme. Says the group with the assault rifles and heavily armored troops. Cloud, Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge make it back to the Sector 7 slums with the supplies to take down another Mako reactor. While trying to get a good night's sleep after an evening of corporate subterfuge, Cloud is woken up by Tifa. The ghosts are back, and they're swarming the slums. In the commotion, Jessie sprains her ankle, leaving her unable to join the next mission. Barrett hires Cloud to take her place. Seriously, what are these ghosts up to? The next day, after overcoming several obstacles in order to reach the reactor, the group plants the bomb, now equipped with a remote detonator rather than a timer, but must face off against bomb. Now, after overcoming several obstacles in order to reach the reactor, the group plants the bomb, now equipped with a remote detonator rather than a timer, but must face off against a new Shinra weapon of mass destruction, the Airbuster. The ensuing fight ends up separating Cloud from the rest of the group. After having some more visions of Sephiroth, I get it, dude. I can't stop thinking about him either. Cloud is discovered by Aerith once again. The pair are then interrupted by Reno, a member of the Turks, who is essentially Shinra's most elite and deadly task force. Reno and Cloud clash, but before Cloud can take out Reno, the ghosts show up again and drag Cloud and Aerith out of harm's way. I've had it with these ghosts in this game. Aerith and Cloud make it to Aerith's home in the Sector 5 slums, where Cloud agrees to help Aerith tackle, you guessed it, more odd jobs. On their way back to Aerith's house, Cloud gets into another fight with another Turk, Rude. No, it's not Rude, that's the guy's name, although I guess he is also kinda rude. Later, at Aerith's house, Cloud meets her mother Elmira. As he tries to sneak out later in the night, Aerith catches up to him and insists that he take her with him. To get to the slums of Sector 7 from the Sector 5 slums, the pair must cut through Sector 6, the underbelly of which is home to Wall Market, a source of entertainment for many on both the bottom and top of Midgar. On this journey, Aerith notes that Cloud reminds her of another Shinra soldier she used to know, but before that story thread can be expanded upon any further, the pair run into Tifa. Tifa has come to Sector 6 to investigate Don Corneo, the mob boss that runs Wall Market and has been asking around about Avalanche. Tifa is going to attempt to woo the Don in a pageant, which is a really pleasant way of describing that plan. Aerith wishes to help Tifa by also entering, and after a series of challenges, secures a sponsorship from Madame M, one of the pageant's benefactors. However, during these challenges, Cloud catches the eye of another benefactor, Andrea Rodea, who then, after a dance-off, gives Cloud a makeover and submits him as his entry.
Yeah, I
now,
remember
all three
this.
entrants are there to gain intel on Don Corneo. Corneo only has eyes for Cloud, but the three are ultimately able to corner the Don in his bedroom. After interrogation, Don Corneo reveals that he knows what Shinra plans to do about Avalanche. The corporation is going to drop the entirety of Sector 7 on the slums below it, and blame the devastation on Avalanche, as well as the nation of Wutai, a foreign power that is hostile to Midgar and is helping bankroll the freedom fighters. The trio attempt to escape to relay this information to the rest of the group, but Don Corneo opens up a trapdoor, dropping them into the sewers. The trio fight through a slew of monsters to escape the sewers, exiting into an infamously haunted train yard. While there, they manage to tap into the Turks' comms via an old radio, a conversation between Rude and Reno confirming the Don's intel. When they finally get back to the Sector 7 slums, Avalanche is engaged in a firefight with Shinra helicopters, encircling the pillar that holds up the plate above. Aerith is tasked with heading to 7th Heaven in order to protect Barrett's daughter Marlene. However, she runs into the leader of the Turks Turks, Sang, who threatens to kill Marlene if Aerith doesn't return to Shinra with him. More on why in a bit. Back at the pillar, Cloud and Tifa find both Jesse and Biggs mortally wounded. At the top, they help Barrett face down Rude and Reno right before the ghosts show up once again to do some meddling. They tragically hold Wedge in place, preventing him from escaping, as Sector 7 comes crashing down. And then this cat thing shows up. Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett mourn the losses of Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge as they travel to Aerith's house, where Marlene is safe and sound under the watchful eye of Elmira. Aerith has indeed been taken in by the Turks. Elmira then explains why Shinra wants Aerith. She's the last of the Ancients, a race of magical beings that were the dominant species on Earth before humans. Ancients, a race of magical beings that were the dominant species on Earth before humans. Elmira is Aerith's adoptive mother, having taken her in after the death of her real mother. Shinra believes that Aerith knows the way to an infinite source of Mako thanks to her legendary lineage. You can imagine why that would be something it'd want to find. The trio leaves Marlene in Elmira's custody before returning to the devastated Sector 7 slums to help those that remain. As they do so, they discover a secret Shinra lab where, surprise, Wedge is alive. As they rescue him, the ghosts show up once again to pull all four of them out. Elmira gets another adopted child as the gang leaves Wedge in her care while he recovers. The team then plans to break into Shinra headquarters and save Aerith. Only problem is Midgar is essentially on lockdown after the collapse of Sector 7. The group reluctantly decides to try and get assistance from the one person they know that could help them get topside, Don Corneo. When they arrive at his mansion, they find it ransacked. As one of his remaining henchmen explains, Shinra retaliated after learning that the Don leaked its plan to Avalanche. They learn that Corneo fled into the very same sewers that he trapped the group in previously. The trio once again descend into the depths, aided by one of Corneo's assistants, Leslie, who only joined up with the Don to get close enough to him to take him out, after he claimed Leslie's fiancée for himself. Leslie gets ahead of the group and finds Corneo, pulling a gun on him, but the Don easily disarms his former henchman. Because he can't keep his trap shut, Corneo reveals that Shinra intends to scrap the entirety of Midgar to set up a new base of operations in the Promised Land, the hidden location of the infinite source of Mako. That Corneo of operations that Shinra intends to scrap the entirety of Midgar to set up a new base of operations in the Promised Land, the hidden location of the infinite source of Mako, and that Corneo, revealing its Sector 7 plans to Avalanche, cost him his ticket out of the city. A giant beast that dwells in the sewers known as Abzu shows up, allowing his ticket out of the pulling a gun named Leslie's group in previously. The trio once again descended or fled into the after learning that the Don ransacked. As one of his remaining henchmen explains, Shinra retaliated after learning that the Don leaked its plan to Avalanche. They learned one Don grabbed the entirety of Midgar to set up a giant beast that dwells in the sewers known as Abzu shows up, allowing the Don to escape. The heroes face down the creature before Leslie plans to give chase to Corneo. Tifa stresses that Leslie should let go of his revenge and instead put that energy toward finding out what happened to his fiancée and find out if she's even still alive, which, probably should have been something he'd attempted from the start. Leslie thanks the group and gives them grappling hooks to help them get up to the top side of Midgar. After facing down horde after horde of Shinra baddies on their journey upward, the group eventually, successfully infiltrates the evil corporation's headquarters. But they're not the only ones that have made it there. Sephiroth has arrived, and in the flesh, not just in Cloud's visions. After making their way through the building, our heroes are able to get their hands on Professor Hojo, Shinra's resident evil scientist, and force him to take them to his laboratory where he's keeping Aerith. They rescue their friend, as well as Red 13, a talking dog that is the result of one of Hojo's experiments. The party licks their wounds in a room that used to act as an apartment for Aerith and her real mother Ifalna, before they escaped and Ifalna left Aerith in Elmira's care. Aerith reveals that the real name for her race, the Ancients, is actually the Cetra, and that Shinra had been trying to find the location of the Promised Land from her and Ifalna for quite some time. Aerith reveals to her allies that she has no idea how to find it. The ghosts are back, and it's at this moment we get a little insight into what the hell they actually are. Red 13, for some reason, has the intel, and reveals that the ghosts are whispers that are trying to correct the course of the story, with the intention of pushing Aerith in particular in a specific direction. You see, the whispers have arrived at key moments in the game that have deviated from the plot of the original. They caused arrived at key moments in the game that have deviated from the plot of the original. They caused Jessie to hurt her ankle before heading into the Sector 5 reactor. reactor, a mission she planned to undertake but never did in the 1997 iteration. They prevented Cloud from taking out Reno at the end of their first fight, a battle that never took place in the original game. Basically, anytime Remake deviates from the storyline of the original Final Fantasy VII, the Whispers have showed up to try and get it back on its destined track. Before being able to ponder too much on the Whispers, the gang get a call from Wedge, who informs them that Avalanche is sending a helicopter to pick them up from the roof. The group make their way there, coming across a room with a large chamber as they do so. In the group make Wedge, who informs them that Avalanche is sending a helicopter to pick them up from the roof. The group make their way there, coming across a room with a large chamber as they do so. In the center, the decrepit body of a woman is connected to all the machinery around it. Aerith reveals the name of the woman is Jenova, which triggers yet another Sephiroth vision for Cloud. But wait, Sephiroth is actually there! He destroys the catwalk the group is standing on, causing them to fall to the bottom of the containment structure. Red 13, cementing himself as the resident explainer of just what the hell is going on, reveals that all of the creatures and contraptions that Cloud and the gang have had to face down over the course of the game have been the results of Hojo's experimentations with Jenova. The group fight their way through more of these experiments and eventually get back to Genova's chamber, but her body is gone, a trail of purple liquid leading from where she was being held. The trail leads to the Shinra president's office, and the gang finds the old man hanging off the side of his helipad. Barrett agrees to rescue him, in return for clearing Avalanche's name, but once on solid ground, the president pulls a gun on his savior. The moment is interrupted by Sephiroth, who not only takes out President Shinra, but Barrett too. However, since Barrett doesn't die here in the original game, the Whispers show up and revive him. Sephiroth disappears with Jenova's body as the Avalanche helicopter shows up outside. Unfortunately, that helicopter gets taken out by the Turks, who arrive with Vice President Rufus Shinra, the now deceased president's son, and now the new president of Shinra. He faces off against Cloud before jumping back into the safety of his helicopter and taking out the helipad. Fortunately, Tifa is there to save Cloud before he falls to his death, which would have really required a lot of heavy lifting from the Whispers if that were to have happened. Which out the helipad. Fortunately, Tifa is there to save Cloud and Turks, who arrive with Vice President disappears with Jenova's body as the Avalanche helicopter shows up outside. Unfortunately, that helicopter gets taken out by the Turks, who arrive with Vice President Rufus Shinra, the now deceased president's son and now the new president of Shinra. He faces off against Cloud before jumping back into the safety of his helicopter and taking out the helipad. Fortunately, Tifa is there to save Cloud before he falls to his death, which would have really required a lot of heavy lifting from the Whispers if that were to have happened. Barrett, Aerith, and Red 13 are looking for a new way out.
Nilagay ko ata doon sa kwarto mo.
Kwarto?
Oo. Wala ba dito?
Of Shinra 8 that were to have happened. Barrett, Aerith, and Red 13 are looking for a new way out of Shinra HQ. Wedge shows up to help them, but the Whispers show up to throw him out of a window, dead set on making sure that Wedge dies like he does in the original game. His fate is, however, left a mystery to the players. As Barrett, Aerith, and Red 13 become surrounded by Shinra forces, Cloud shows up on his bike, while Tifa picks the trio up in the back of a surrounded by Shinra forces to the players. As Barrett, Aerith, and Red 13 become surrounded by Shinra forces, Cloud shows up on his bike, while Tifa picks the trio up in the back of a van, and our heroes break out onto the freeway. Once they leave Shinra's forces in the dust, Sephiroth appears once again. This is when things get nutty. The Whispers begin to swarm the group, initiating a vision of Zack Fair, a man dressed incredibly similar to Cloud, even wielding the same sword. We will have a whole video coming soon on Zack for you to learn everything you need to know about him. He is very important to the story of Final Fantasy VII. Sephiroth opens up a portal among the swirling Whispers and beckons Cloud to follow him into it. Aerith stands between the portal and the rest of the group, warning them that if they give chase to Sephiroth, they will be untethering themselves from the fated timeline. The group ultimately decides to step through the portal, where they encounter Whisper after Whisper, trying to prevent them from changing fate. As they do so, they get glimpses of that fated future. They ultimately came face to face with the man himself, with Cloud seemingly delivering the final blow against him. This act pulls him into a swirling cosmos, where Sephiroth also appears, revealing that their actions have finally unwritten the once destined future. Sephiroth asks that Cloud join him in writing a new future, but as you can imagine, our boy is not down for such an offer. The pair square off yet again, with Sephiroth ultimately disarming his former protege. However, Sephiroth refuses to kill Cloud, seemingly curious to see what he does in this now uncertain future. We then get to see glimpses of what is possible in this new reality, revealing that Biggs, who also died in the first game, actually survived the collapsing of Sector 7, with hints that Jesse might be alive as well. Undoing Destiny has seemingly also altered the past, as we get shots of Zack, who originally died in the lead up to the original game, now having survived his previously final moments. The game ends with the group stepping out into the open world that will serve as the setting for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, an ocean of limitless possibilities now awaiting them. However, we're not done yet. Remake got a DLC story expansion titled Intermission, and considering it sets up key characters that will appear in Rebirth, it'd be best to quickly run through those plot beats as well. The events of Intermission primarily take place during the middle of the game, during the events of Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa's time in Wall Market when they first encountered Don Corneo. The DLC focuses around Yuffie, the daughter of the leader of Wutai, who has been tasked with infiltrating the floating city and stealing materia from Shinra. Materia, for those unfamiliar, are basically crystallized Mako that can grant its users powers. In Remake, they functioned as a way for the player to modify the character's abilities. Yuffie is accompanied by her father's right-hand man, Sonon, and the pair meet up with the real Avalanche, not Barrett's Splinter Group, who are assisting them with the mission. Yuffie and Sonon acquire ID cards to get into Shinra HQ, whilst also overhearing rumblings of something about to go down in Sector 7. I wonder what that could be. Sonon and Yuffie get into the headquarters undercover, before being discovered by the head of Shinra's weapons department and the person in charge of materia development. The pair defeat the director's prototypes, but ultimately discover that the materia they plan to steal is non-functional. They also learn about Shinra's plans to drop Sector 7 on the slums below it. The two then have to face off against Nero the Sable, the leader of an elite squadron of Shinra's forces. Nero tragically kills Sonon, but Yuffie manages to escape, just in time to witness the collapse of the Sector 7 plate. Bummer. As Yuffie retreats from Midgar, she vows to take revenge on Shinra and to find like-minded warriors who can aid her in her quest. We then get yet another moment with Zack, who has arrived at the church in Sector 5, where Cloud had his first fight with Reno. The church is filled with refugees of Sector 7, but Zack is there looking for one person in particular, Aerith. And that is the entire recap of the story of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Intermission to prep you for the release of FF7 Rebirth. As I mentioned, we'll have a video dedicated to Zack, the star of the Final Fantasy VII prequel Crisis Core, and an integral character to the overarching story, as well as understanding what Sephiroth's whole deal is. But that's not all. We have a whole heap of content dropping in the lead up to the launch of the game on February 29th, as well as a ton of stuff that will be waiting for you once you've played it. So make sure to like and subscribe, and Backings Cloud what he does possibility uses powers. In Remake, made by her father's right-hand man, Sonon, by the characters of granted users Tai, who has been tasked with infiltrating the floating city and stealing materia from Shinra. Materia accompanied by Barrett's Splinter Group, who are assisting them with the mission. Yuffie and Sonon acquire ID cards to get into Shinra HQ, whilst also overhearing rumblings of something about to go down in Sector 7. I wonder what that could be. Sonon and Yuffie get into the headquarters undercover, before being discovered, defeat the director's prototypes, but ultimately discover that the materia they plan to steal is below it. The two then have to face off tragically Sector 7 plate. Bummer. Minded warriors who can aid her in her quest. Cloud had his first fight with Reno. The church is filled with refugees of Sector 7, but Zack is there looking for one person in particular, Aerith. And that is the entire recap of the studio on February 29th, as well as a
nice recap. Who is... Anong kakapanood lang natin? Ito. The complete 7 time explained. Oh shit.
The ending of Square Enix's
Anyway.
'20 remake of the
Okay, Zack.
Classic 1997 JRPG Final Fantasy VII left everyone with some big questions concerning the appearance of a dark-haired guy in a soldier uniform limping along the grasslands, dragging a very passed-out blonde protagonist with him. Classic 1997 JRPG Final Square Enix's 2020 remake of the classic 1997 JRPG Final Fantasy VII left everyone with some big questions concerning the appearance of a dark-haired guy in a soldier uniform limping along the grasslands, dragging a very passed-out blonde protagonist with him. Fans of the original game reacted with a resounding, OMG, they did that? What does this mean? While new players were likely wondering, who the heck is this guy? And how/why is Cloud in two places at once? Allow us to clear up some confusion.
No. Cloud is not at two places at the same time. That is the previous event.
As we present a refresher or primer course on Best Boy Zack Fair. Zack made his initial appearance in the original Final Fantasy VII, published by Squaresoft for the Sony PlayStation in 1997. He was first mentioned by Aerith in the park in the Sector 6 slums when she tells Cloud that her former boyfriend had, like Cloud, been in Soldier, an elite military branch of the Shinra Electric Power Company. Cloud asks his name, but before he can press Aerith for an answer, they're interrupted by the carriage carting Tifa to Don Corneo's mansion. And this is all the information we get about Zack until much later in the game, like deeply into Disc 2 later. That is, of course, unless the player has Aerith and Tifa in their party when they go to visit the village of Gongaga and speak to a couple in one of the houses who mention their missing son, Zack. Aerith reveals that Zack was her first love, and Cloud is surprised that he's never heard of him, considering they were the same rank in Soldier. She mentions that he left on a mission 5 years ago and never returned. Tifa, on the other hand, is mentioned of, and Cloud is surprised that he's never heard of him, considering they were the same rank in Soldier. She mentions that he left on a mission 5 years ago and never returned. Tifa, on the other hand, is visibly shaken by the mention of the name Zack, well, as visibly shaken as polygons can be, and fumbles when denying that she knows him. She reflects on how Zack's story sounds just like Cloud's, boy from a small town, leaving for the big city, joining Soldier. After this, Zack thinks she as visibly shaken as polygons can be, and fumbles when denying that she knows him. She reflects on how Zack's story sounds just like Cloud's, boy from a small town, leaving for the big city, joining Soldier. After this, Zack fades into the deep background again until, as mentioned, a solid 20+ hours later, we really learn about him, or at least the role he played in some pivotal past events. Since we're not assuming that everyone watching this video has played the original Final Fantasy VII, we'll keep it vague. But again, to get the most Zack information possible in the original release, the player had to make the choice to revisit a location on Disc 3 wherein we are introduced to the events that play out in greater detail in the Zack-centric prequel, Crisis Core. While this is not that make the choice to revisit a location on Disc 3 wherein we are introduced to the events that play out in greater detail in the Zack-centric prequel, Crisis Core. While this is not the next time we see Zack in Final Fantasy VII related releases, that happens in the 2005 film Advent Children, set after the events of the original game where he is basically a ghost, it is, chronologically speaking, the first time he ever appears. In Crisis Core and its remaster released for the PS4 and 5 in December 2022, Crisis Core Reunion, Zack, chronologically speaking, the first time he ever appears. In Crisis Core and its remaster released for the PS4 and 5 in December 2022, Crisis Core Reunion, Zack, the only playable character, is an enthusiastic, optimistic young soldier lad from a tiny little town called 2022, Crisis Core Reunion, Zack, the only playable character, is an enthusiastic, optimistic young soldier lad from a tiny little town called, you already know it, Gongaga. And this kid is thriving. 7 years before Cloud helps Avalanche bomb a reactor, Zack is out here making a name for himself, fighting the Shinra Corporation's war with Wutai. Bomb a reactor, kid is thriving. 7 years before Cloud helps Avalanche bomb a reactor, Zack is out here making a name for himself, fighting the Shinra Corporation's war with Wutai, hitting it off with all the ladies, and just generally being well liked by everyone around him. He is the textbook definition of golden retriever energy. His mentor, Angeal Hewley, literally refers to him as Zack the puppy. To summarize, there are three main soldier characters in addition to Zack: the aforementioned Angeal, Genesis, who grew up with Angeal, and Sephiroth, who needs no introduction. Both Angeal and Genesis are the result of a Shinra-sponsored genetic experiment involving Angeal's mother and Genova, an effectively mummified being Shinra found and decided was an ancient or Cetra, and Genesis, who grew up with. There are three main soldier characters in addition to Zack: the aforementioned Angeal, Genesis, who grew up with Angeal, and Sephiroth, who needs no introduction. Both Angeal and Genesis are the result of a Shinra-sponsored genetic experiment involving Angeal's mother and Genova, an effectively mummified being Shinra found and decided was an ancient or Cetra, the original inhabitants of the planet. They learned this pretty early on in the story and abandoned Shinra and Soldier. Genesis, with aspirations of finding the fabled gift or Cetra, the original inhabitants of the planet. They learned this pretty early on in the story and abandoned Shinra and Soldier. Genesis, with aspirations of finding the fabled gift of the goddess, as described in the epic Loveless, which he views himself, Angeal, and Sephiroth as being the three key players in, and Angeal with sadness and anger at both the company and his own monstrous nature. Other key players in this game include Sung, the Turk who's keeping an eye on Aerith in Final Fantasy VII/7 Remake, Soldier Director Lazard, Dr. Hollander, the scientist behind the genetic experiments resulting in Angeal and Genesis, and Aerith herself, who, like Cloud after him, Zack meets after he falls through the roof of a church. Dr. Hollander, the scientist behind the genetic experiments resulting in Angeal and Genesis, and Aerith herself, who, like Cloud after him, Zack meets after he falls through the roof of a church where she tends flowers. They quickly become a couple, naturally. And speaking of, Cloud also plays a supporting role here, a gloomy, spiky-haired infantryman who bonds with Zack over their mutual country bumpkin backgrounds. Additionally, Zack works alongside a young woman Turk, Cisne, who we already know is set to return in Rebirth. The youngest member of the team, Cisne takes a particular shine to Zack and is one of his key allies. Emotionally reserved due to basically being raised to be a Turk from childhood, Cisne is nonetheless close to her colleagues, playfully flirty with Zack, and the founder of his fan club. The first two-thirds of the game centers mostly around shenanigans with Genesis/Angeal and a bunch of their copies, and ends up with Zack tracking them and Hollander to a mountain town called Modeoheim, where he ends up having to kill his former mentor, who leaves him with his Buster Sword, and a hope that and a bunch of their copies, and ends up with Zack tracking them and Hollander to a mountain town called Modeoheim, where he ends up having to kill his former mentor, who leaves him with his Buster Sword, and a hope that Zack will continue to live with honor and become a hero. Even after the real Angeal's death, Angeal and Genesis copies are still running wild, including one of the former who shows up to the Sector 5 church to watch over Aerith. Director Lazard defects from Shinra and releases the incarcerated Hollander to do more genetic experiments, mostly because, we learn later, Lazard himself is an Angeal copy and his cells are beginning to degenerate. Genesis is also suffering from degeneration, along with all his copies. During this time frame, 4 to 5 years before the original FF7, Zack is also featured in a chapter of the Turk focus frame 4 to 5 years before the original FMD generation, along with all his copies. During this time frame, 4 to 5 years before the original FF7, Zack is also featured in a chapter of the Turk-focused mobile game Before Crisis, wherein he once again has to kill some former friends. All this is to say, Zack has been through a lot of emotional torment, and Shinra's health insurance almost certainly doesn't cover the therapy he most definitely needs. Nonetheless, he remains a good boy, doing his best to fulfill Angeal's final wish. And here, good viewers, is where we might cross the line into spoiler territory, but if you've only played Final Fantasy VII Remake and managed to not learn anything about the OG game in the last 27 years, you won't entirely realize what's being spoiled for you, and even then you may be more confused than outright spoiled, especially if you just played the Rebirth demo. Anyway, proceed with caution. The small mountain haven of Nibelheim, which just so happens to be where Cloud grew up, has been increasingly plagued with monsters gathering around its long-standing Mako reactor. Shinra finally responds to their plea for help, sending Sephiroth along with a small team consisting of Zack, Cloud, and another basic infantry guy to investigate. Cloud has yet to achieve his dream of even joining Soldier, let alone making first class, so he keeps it on the DL that he's back in town. He certainly doesn't reveal his identity to the local mountain guide assigned to lead them to the reactor, who turns out to be none other than Best Girl. He keeps it on the DL that he's back in town. He certainly doesn't reveal his identity to the local mountain guide assigned to lead them to the reactor, who turns out to be none other than best girl, Tifa Lockhart. After a harrowing trip, they make it to the reactor and find a bunch of mutated humanoids incubating in pods. And wouldn't you know it, their old pal Genesis shows up to inform the Pride of Soldier, Sephiroth, that he too is part of a genetic experiment. Project S, part of the Genova Project, Shinra's attempt to create a human ancient hybrid. Unborn baby Sephiroth was directly injected with Genova cells while developing and considered bred. Unborn baby Sephiroth was directly injected with Genova cells while developing and considered to be a greater success than the two Project G babies, Angeal and Genesis. So Sephiroth spends a week in the library in the basement of the old Shinra mansion, which conveniently contains years and years of well-documented research on his origin, and absolutely loses his shit. He decides that he is a superior being, meant to inherit and rule supreme over the planet/cosmos at large, and burns down the entire town of Nibelheim before taking off to the reactor to exhume his mother from her giant test tube. Zack races after him and finds Tifa on the floor of the reactor, barely clinging to life. He pursues Sephiroth into the inner chamber and confronts him just as successfully as Tifa did, which is to say, not at all. He gets his ass beat and yeeted into the outer part of the reactor. Then, Cloud arrives. After a clash, Sephiroth winds up in the Livestream below the reactor. Cloud ends up face down on the stairs next to a clash. Sephiroth winds up in the Livestream below the reactor. Cloud ends up face down on the stairs next to Zack, and the two lose consciousness as a group of Shinra researchers, including the nefarious Professor Hojo, who you'll certainly recall from 7 Remake, arrive. When Zack awakens, he discovers, oh no, now he too is in a giant test tube. But he's got that soldier power, prolonged exposure to pure Mako, to make him strong. So he busts out, he's got that soldier power, prolonged exposure to pure Mako, to make him strong. So he busts out of there, kills the orderly looking after him, and frees Cloud. Unfortunately, Cloud is basically non-responsive, and Zack theorizes he has contracted Mako poisoning since his body was not previously conditioned to the substance. Determined to reunite Mako, he too is in a giant test tube. Arrive. When Zack awakens, he discovers, oh no, now he too is in a giant test tube. But he's got that soldier power, prolonged exposure to pure Mako, to make him strong. So he busts out of there, kills the orderly looking after him, and frees Cloud. Unfortunately, Cloud is basically non-responsive, and Zack theorizes he has contracted Mako poisoning since his body was not previously conditioned to the substance. Determined to reunite with his beloved Aerith, Zack was not previously conditioned to the substance. Determined to reunite with his beloved Aerith, Zack trudges toward Midgar with Cloud in tow. En route, he reunites with Cisne near his hometown of Gungaga, who warns him against returning there but promises to keep an eye on his pets. With Cisne near beloved Aerith, Zack trudges toward Midgar with Cloud in tow. En route, he reunites with Cisne near his hometown of Gungaga, who warns him against returning there but promises to keep an eye on his parents. And from what we know about her appearance in Rebirth, it seems she permanently set up residence there. Everything gets resolved with Genesis, Hollander, and Lazard, though Genesis doesn't actually die, but he also hasn't figured out how to stop his degeneration problem. Hollander and Lazard both kick it, though, so we definitely won't be seeing them again. The final Angeal copy, the one who's been looking after Aerith, delivers her final letter to Zack, and he realizes that he hasn't been gone for a few weeks. He was locked up in that basement in Nibelheim for 4 years. With on
what
for
the
after
fuck?
Aerith kick it, though, so we definitely resolve what we know registered previously responsive and substance. Determined to act out Mako to make 2 is in a giant 7 remake arrive. When Zack awakens, he discovers, oh no, now he go to unpoised love his hometown of Gungaga, who warns him against Cloud in tow. En route, he reunites with Cisne near his hometown of Gungaga, who warns him against returning there but promises to keep an eye on his parents. With Cisne near his hometown of Gungaga, who warns him against returning there but promises to keep an eye on his parents. And from what we know about her appearance in Rebirth, it seems she permanently set up residence there. Everything gets resolved with Genesis, Hollander, and Lazard, though Genesis doesn't actually die, but he also hasn't figured out how to stop his degeneration problem. Hollander and Lazard both kick it, though, so we definitely won't be seeing them again. The final Angeal copy, the one who's gone renewed determination, Zack, he was locked up in that basement in Nibelheim for 4 years. With renewed determination, Zack and the still catatonic Cloud hitch a ride on a truck and are back on the road to Midgar. Unfortunately, Shinra is out there looking for them. Sung attempts to find determination, Zack and the still locked up in that basement in Nibelheim for 4 years. With renewed determination, Zack and the still catatonic Cloud hitch a ride on a truck and are back on the road to Midgar. Unfortunately, Shinra is out there looking for them. Sung attempts to find our boys before the army does, but tragically fails. With Cloud safely hidden or deemed to be not a threat / worth killing interchangeably, Zack makes a valiant final stand, but is ultimately overwhelmed and mortally wounded. Now, in the original flashback scene in Final Fantasy VII, Zack collapses dead, Cloud comes to and crawls over to the original flashback scene in Final Fantasy VII, Zack collapses dead, Cloud comes to and crawls over to discover Zack's dead body. In Crisis Core, though, you know, they just had to tug at those heartstrings a little harder. Here, as Zack lays dying, he is happy to discover that Cloud recovered and leaves him the Buster Sword, telling Cloud that he will be his living legacy. In the OG game, Cloud just took the sword while mourning his friend's passing, but, I mean, he was like really, really mourning it. I mean, those are some emotional polygons. And that's the end of Zack. Or is it? Obviously not, or we wouldn't be making this video. The ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake included Zack's last stand with a very, very big change. Zack didn't die. After the defeat of the Whispers, Zack was knocked back by a burst of light from Midgar, and upon recovering, continues his trek back to the city with Cloud still unconscious and being dragged along beside him.
Is still Cloud? What the
We get a dramatic shot of him and Aerith walking past one another unseen, possibly in different, now divergent timelines. So, what the heck? We know for sure that Zack is going to play a role in Final Fantasy VII. The now dramatic use of a very of Zack more ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake is it? Obviously not, or we wouldn't be making this video. The ending of Final Fantasy VII Remake included Zack's last stand with a very, very big change. Zack didn't die. After the defeat of the Whispers, Zack was knocked back by a burst of light from Midgar, and upon recovering, continues his trek back to the city with Cloud still unconscious and being dragged along beside him. We get a dramatic shot of him and Aerith walking past one another unseen, possibly in different, now divergent timelines. So, what the heck? We know for sure that Zack is going to play a role in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, 1, because the people making these games are smart and wouldn't just casually resurrect him for no reason, and 2, because we've seen him in all the previews and advertising. Specifically, we've seen him hanging around Marlene with Aerith lying seemingly in a coma and Cloud still unresponsive in a wheelchair. So what does it all mean? At this point it's theory, but the multiple timeline idea has legs. After all, we know that the Whispers in Final Fantasy VII Remake were multiple timelines. So what does it all mean? At this point it's theory, but the multiple timeline idea has legs. After all, we know that the Whispers in Final Fantasy VII Remake were doing their darndest to ensure that all events proceeded exactly as they had in the original Final Fantasy VII, and Zack managed to survive only after the Whispers had been defeated, albeit several weeks before their defeat in the timeline Remake is currently following. But since Aerith's greatest wish, as established in letters she sent in Crisis Core, was to spend more time with Zack, it checks out that, given the opportunity to change history, she'd want to save his life, right? Many unanswered questions remain, and it's up to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to resolve them. But until it does, we can simply rejoice in the fact that our boy is back. And for those of you just meeting him, hopefully you're beginning to understand the widespread and well-deserved love of Zack Fair. Until it does, we can see the letter she sent in Crisis Core, their darndest to ensure that all events proceeded exactly as they had in the original Final Fantasy VII, and Zack managed to survive only after the Whispers had been defeated, albeit several weeks before their defeat in the timeline Remake is currently following. But since Aerith's greatest wish, as established in letters she sent in...
Okay,